Everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, I'm delighted to be talking with comics creator, writer Devin Arscott. Devin, thank you for being on top of the world there. I'm assuming on top of Olympus or something along those lines. See what I did there? Lines of Olympus.
That
See what I did there?
that was actually very good.
Yeah, you're
I
completely
appreciate you having me.
accidental, actually. Yeah.
Hey, nothing like happy accidents, right?
That's right. That's right. Now, I mentioned that title, but you've done a good bit of creating with Red Sea Comics. There's a title of one of your works which I absolutely love. I Summoned a Demon, and she's kind of my type. I'm guessing some true life events there that might have influenced you in some way or other.
Honestly, the influence was more so coincidental or accidental rather. Because when I was working on something else with Red Sea Comics and we were like brainstorming some other things, I'm like, well, just throw me some ideas and we can play around with some stuff.
Hmm.
And maybe a couple days go by, I get a message saying, "Hey, could you look over this for me?" I was like, "Okay, sure." You know, you know, like most things do. So I went through it. And I'm like, "Okay, I like this idea." And Chris Moses, uh, the writer of that particular title, at first he didn't like it for whatever reason, and me being who I am, I really love like manga and all that type of stuff.
Hmm.
And I just so happened to like say, This is pretty cool." I was like, throw together, a little sample of such, and we can look at it some more. So we did that, and then eventually, I think he was like really into it after that, and now it's going on his fourth or fifth book of that. I think. I know we're
Hmm.
working on a spring edition of that title. I know we just had like a fall edition come out last, and then a volume three, I believe, was well, maybe four. I might be misremembering some things, but it's on a fast track to getting things moving. So I'm glad to see somebody is enjoying this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love the creativity and I am curious about kind of your origin. How did you know that you wanted to be a writer and how did comics become part of that too?
So both of those things kind of go hand in hand. I started reading at a young age, at 4. My
Hmm.
dad had a big comic book collection when I was a kid, so he encouraged me to read a lot, and I was like, all right, well, there's a bunch of comic books in the house. So I started reading with comics to help me learn how to read and a bunch of other things. I made like a lot of library trips in my youth as well. My mother would take me to the library like once a week or so.
Hmm.
I'd get about, I'd start off light, get a handful of books, then I'd get more books. Eventually, I'd read up to 10, 15 books a week.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a lot of reading material for, a younger kid. And at some point, I took up writing. Originally, I wanted to be a novelist,
Hmm.
believe it or not. And for whatever reason, that just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't stick. I still want to do that. Um, it's, something else. But comics, though, my big love for comics, I was reading a lot of titles in my youth, X-Men, Avengers, pretty much anything I could get my hands on.
Hmm.
And I think in the 6th grade, it was like when I made the decision, I'm like, hey, I want to write comic books for a living. So it wasn't until actually 2019 when I finally stepped my foot into it with my wife's help. She pretty much set me on the path. And from there, I've been doing this for 6 years now.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I've been on over 100 and I want to say 150 plus titles now. Like I think I'm
Nice.
nearing 200, probably really soonish. So
Yeah, yeah, cool. Very cool. And it sounds generative. And unlike novels, I know that comics have this reputation for being collaborative. Novels are a little more solo. So, what
yes.
has that part of the process been like for you?
It's actually really fun. Like
Yeah.
it's more than I could have hoped for. Granted, sometimes there are, pitfalls like anything, but the collaborative process is probably one of the most fun things I've ever done as
Hmm.
far as this is concerned. It's kind of like hmm, putting together a pizza with your kid, and
Yeah.
you're sitting there, you got all the components, and then you put together, and then at the end you have a finished product that you are enjoying, and you can share with other people, not just for yourselves. So
Hmm.
I think comics is an experience I think a lot of people, especially if you're someone like myself who enjoys it, should at least try it, once or twice, find somebody that's on your same level, which I'm a go-getter. I try to shoot for the stars, literally.
Hmm.
And pretty much you can make anything. I've worked with folks from the young age of like 18 to as old as my father, which is about 50s.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
everybody has their late starts, early starts, whatever. It really doesn't matter when you start, but to do it's very fulfilling once you've made your first project. So I can't complain.
Nice, nice. Love it. Love it. Uh, you were talking about collaboration there, and I'm also curious about what it's been like to work with folks at Mad Cave. My impression of them is pretty positive. They have a lot of interesting work out, so kind of curious what that collaboration's been like as well.
My my experience is just hmm, how do I want to explain it? It's kind of like any collaboration. I think they're one of the better groups running around here.
Hmm.
And mind you, as an editor type myself, and having other things just fall over that way. Um, it's honestly no different. They take a lot of pride in what they do. For the most part, I think that's a good and necessary thing. A lot of publishers don't really too get to really give you their positive, thoughts about it. They give you, bits and pieces, and then you gotta turn stuff in.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's pretty rough to say the least. But Mad Cave, I think, is again one of the best groups around here, in my opinion. They have a pretty good setup as far as how creators are treated, how they work with you with your project. Uh, they're very good at promoting something that a lot of creators need to do on their own, but publishers, especially when you have something, you can't get the word out if you don't do the work behind it. So,
Right.
whether they pay somebody to do it or they, have someone who's willing to do it on their own, it really doesn't matter. It's something that I see all the time. Every time I open up my phone to social media, Mad Cave pops up. Or, I've got a billion browsers open on my phone full of books I want to buy. There's a lot of Mad Cave stuff there. A lot of creators in, various spaces I'm in. Hey, who's the best publisher? Mad Cave is in the top three. I think Image and like one other group uh, is up there with them, but we make lists and then we throw them away and forget about them. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
but for the most part, I think it's very positive. I'd like to do a little bit more over there. I got a lot of stuff I'm toiling away at that I'd like to maybe see a Mad Cave release in the future, but only time will tell for that particularly.
Yeah, yeah. Now you work a lot in kind of like supernatural, mythological kind of storytelling. Is there a particular genre or a particular way of storytelling that inspires you most or that you'd like to try out?
Um, Honestly, I like to try anything that sounds cool. Like that's
Hmm.
pretty much the bottom line for me. And yes, a lot of stuff does fall into like the supernatural or the mythological, areas, just because those are areas that I've always been very drawn to. Other than that, superheroes are my really that's actually the cream of the crop. They're the biggest thing that I enjoy. So I try to do a lot of stuff that plays around with that. But for the most part, I like to experiment. I don't like to limit myself on what I can and cannot do. It's more
Hmm.
of a I can do pretty much anything and it works very well.
I like that.
Now, uh, it makes one a really well-rounded creator or writer in general, because the more things that you have tried, you find your strengths, you find weaknesses. You can improve a lot better when you know what you can and cannot do, so that way you can do it all,
Hmm.
and have less hiccups or negative aspects about the work when you can figure out, hey, I can do pretty much all of this stuff here. There's nothing that really stops me from trying something new, other than the fact that I'm too busy on something else and
Yeah.
have to set it to the side. Other than that, it's a matter of time before you see something in a different avenue. Also, I'm a history buff. I love history. So, I like playing around in World War II for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel like I have a couple things that are set in that time frame, and I love eras like that. Very definitive um, time frames, and what can we do? What can we explore in regard to something such as that? So it's pretty much no limit to what I can do.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Any particular projects that are coming up? You mentioned that I Summoned a Demon has some forthcoming work, but anything on the horizon that you'd like to mention for listeners to be looking out for?
Let's see. On Tuesday, the 11th, I'll have the relaunch of the Lion of Olympus coming out. I know
Hmm.
last year we kind of failed on that. We were close. We were 76% funded, but I think now I'm in a little better space. Things have calmed down, and um, I'd really like everybody to just jump into that and fully understand what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
And then let's see, I'm working on a fun little story for my newsletter on Substack. It's a Popeye and Buck Rogers story,
Nice.
and I realized that they were well, yeah, they both came into the public domain as of the 1st of January.
Oh, cool,
So
cool.
I thought, hey, well, I had a head start on it because I saw someone share an article recently about it, and I was like, well, what would it hurt to try and do that?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it culminated in this weird, well, maybe not weird per se, but interesting 24-page book. It's real simple. Um, Hoping to get going on that in the forthcoming weeks. Got some other things to take care of, but that hopefully will debut on my Substack maybe about summertime. I'm thinking maybe
Hmm.
before that. So if everybody were to sign up to my newsletter, it's free. There is a paid rewards system in place. You get some cool little perks for as low as 5 a month or 60 a year. Um, So I always implore folks to join on if you want to see some cool behind the scenes work, get some cool little gifts and all that cool stuff.
Cool. Very cool.
Let's
Yeah.
see. There's a lot more things I can probably plug that I'm forgetting, but I work on so much these days. It's kind of hard to keep track of, everything.
Well, anytime that you want to come back and plug something, talk about something, I'm glad to have you back. Where would folks find the Substack or other information about your work?
So Substack is actually very easy to find. The Substack is called Epic Fantasy Studios on Substack. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at CBDevin95. I think I'm on Blue Sky as well under the same handle if you're fancy to that. Um, and yeah, I'm very easy to find. Like literally, I Google myself a lot, so that should hopefully help y'all.
Nice, nice. Well, by means of a final question, any shout outs to collaborators out there? We've talked a good bit about collaboration. But any folks that you'd like to mention that kind of bubble to the surface as being people that you're always excited to work with?
Oh, absolutely. My best buddy, CJ Hudson, he's got a project on Kickstarter right now. It's called Hunters of the Outer Realm #1. We actually have a cool promo piece that if you back both of our campaigns, you'll receive a exclusive print featuring one
Nice.
of our characters on it. It's really cool. It's almost funded last I checked. Go check it out. CJ is a very great collaborator. I've edited a lot of his works in the past, and we do a lot of joint release stuff together when we can. Um, Excellent writer. I don't think there are many people out there who are like him, especially for folks like at my particular level
Mhm.
of creativity. I think he is going to go really far. It's really only a matter of time, honestly. Let's see, my collaborator David Among Batista. He is the artist for my series Magni the Mighty.
Mhm. Mhm.
Excellent guy. I really love working with him. Every time, I message him and say, "Hey, you ready to do some more?" And he's ready to go like right away. He will drop pretty much anything that he's doing to do that with me, and I think we both take a lot of pride and joy in doing this series. We're currently actually working on some stuff for it now for a later release. But great guy. I love him. Uh,
Mhm.
let's see. Chris Moses, obviously over at Red Sea Comics. Chris is a great guy. He's very passionate. He's got a lot going on. Um, you know, follow everything he does. Back all his books. I think he's really one to watch for. All he does is create, and he creates with a lot of fire behind him. So if you're not hip to a Red Sea Comics project, go check him out. He's got, a slew of projects to check out. I Summon a Demon is the best book, obviously.
Mhm.
So I
Obviously,
implore
obviously.
everybody to go grab a copy of that, and just having fun with that. It's great material. And there are so many other people I'd love to shout out that have given me opportunities and, who I've had the pleasure of working with. But, can't pack everybody in.
That's right. That's the danger of one of those questions. So, lots of other folks out there to mention, I'm sure.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, Devin, I'm certainly glad to talk with you. It's an open invitation if you ever want to come back to talk about other projects. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to share before we close out?
Um, Honestly, I'm just gonna reiterate that newsletter. That newsletter is, like I said, open to everybody. It's free. There's a paid sub option. Like I said, you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter. I'm most active on Twitter. Literally, don't get off of there, it seems. Um, if you want to reach out with a question or anything like that, go ahead and DM me. You can find my email somewhere. I have a link. I have a link tree on my Twitter that you can find all my other information. I have an online store that you can buy some books from, which is also linked through my Twitter and hopefully the other areas. I'll double check that later. But for the most part, I'm an easy guy to find. If you ever have a question, want to do some work together, or, just have a cool conversation.
Awesome. Well, many thanks again, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you very much, Jason. Take it easy.
You too.